palang nanonood tayo sa ibang bansa. May mga bumati from the Middle East, in-explain sa atin kung ano yung difference nila sa iba't ibang lugar doon. Meron sa Barcelona, may nag-greet from Barcelona. Meron din sa Visayas at Mindanao. Okay Kala ko tayo lang to eh.
Maganda yung, actually maganda nung maganda ng pag nakakabasa ng mga ganun. It really nakaka-motivate siya lalo gumawa ng content.
Speaking of Visayas, may nagpadala sa akin ng package, kaibigan natin. Nung isang araw dumating.
Wow.
Kilala mo yan? Kilala mo yan?
Kilala ko yan.
Si Pakoy.
Sa buhok pa lang eh.
Buhok pa lang. Don Pacundo. Apparently, based na si Pakoy sa
I think he's
Bacolod.
better for business. Tapos, kasi di ba nung time na nawalan ng gigs, nagnegosyo siya doon. Parang meron siyang mga roots and connections doon. So, andun siya for the meantime. I think he's going to come back soon. Pero naipit siya ng ECQ.
Okay.
Yung sabi niya sa akin.
Pinadala niya ako ng banana chips eh.
Astig. Yan.
Ubus na.
Ang ganda nung logo.
Logo, packaging, pati t-shirt. 2 flavors ng banana chips. Tsaka, papakita ko sana yung banana chips. Kaso kinain ko na nung isang gabi eh. Kasi yung pagka, sarap eh. Masarap. Kanamit, gid.
Meron pala akong nagkamali ako ng banggit dun sa last na intro natin kasi yung sabi ko na adopt yung dog sa POS, hindi, Potion pala. Potion Project. Yun.
Potion Project.
Potion Project.
Last week pala, mahina yung mic ko. Kasi, nag-record ako ng drums eh. Pag nag-record ako ng drums, 2 mic lang eh. Kick lang, tsaka ito. Tapat ko lang. Kaso dahil malakas yung SPL, hininaan ko pala sa... Ngayon ba mahina pa rin o malakas?
Medyo okay na.
Okay na. At speaking of Visayas pa rin, our next guest, nakilala ko to
Ay, sa UFC, pag-usapan ba natin?
Ay! Sige. Sino yung paborito mong
Grabe na grabe yung first night nila na with fans, tas ang dami nangyari. Ang galing nun, na parang kahit naputulan ng paa si Weidman.
Parang no? Di ba yun din yung nangyari kay Silva?
Yeah. Ang galing. Eksakto na nangyari sa kanya. So siguro ayaw na lumaban sa kanya nung next. Yun din ang mangyayari. Mas nalaman niya.
Si Silva nga ang classy, di ba? Nag-tweet pa siya ng support kay Weidman.
Hindi ko nakita.
Nag-tweet siya ng parang stay strong, parang...
Grabe yung sa slow motion, nabali muna yung paa niya.
Ayoko tingnan eh.
Tapos nag-land bago niya na-realize na putol na. As in,
hindi niya agad naramdaman,
Hindi.
Split second eh.
Tapos grabe na hindi ko rin, actually, nasa baba ako nun kasi parang mag-start pa lang. So pag-akit ko, tapos na. Nagtataka, bakit tapos na? Nangyari. So nung nagre-replay, parang, oh shit. Naputulang pala.
Grabe. Gusto ko rin yung kay Thug Rose. Fan
ako
ng Thug Rose.
Grabe. Kawawa lang, I mean, nakita ko yung disillusion dun kay Zhang Weili nung natalo siya. Parang wala lang. Na-feel ko talaga na fuck, ayoko matalo ng ganito. Pero wala. Alat.
Parang sinet up ang ganda, no? Parang
Alin?
kasi umilag pa siya sa akala niya low kick eh.
Oo.
So umilag pa siya ng ganun. So
baba,
na-set up siya eh.
Ganda.
Game plan eh, no? Hindi chamba eh, game plan eh.
Ganda. Tapos knockout din yung kay Usman tsaka kay Masvidal.
Grabe yung shot, no? Yung pawis.
Tanggal yung tubig.
Lahat ng pawis eh, lahat nung yabang niya.
Nawala.
Nawala eh. Parang...
Tulog talaga siya eh. As in, tulog. Pag sa replay, pag ni-pause mo, parang may isang time na nakaganon siya katabi niya si Usman, hindi mo isipin na nagsapakan sila. Parang magkatabi lang na nakatulog nakaganon sa kanya.
Good night eh.
Good night. Grabe. Nag-iba yung parang yung interview niya today, parang medyo mas nag-iba siya eh. Parang iba na yung hindi na masyadong mayabang.
Mahirap eh. Mahirap.
Grabe si Usman. Galing siya.
Galing. Siya ngayon ang kasi wala si Khabib eh, Siya pumalit, Siya
well,
champion.
Hindi lang siya as marketable, I guess, as Khabib. Parang yung personality niya parang mas timid eh. Kaya siguro 'di ba, parang wala lang. Hindi siya mas likable.
Mas gusto ni Dana White si
Masvidal.
Yung mga Masvidal yung medyo pasaway na personality talaga.
Personality talaga.
Panoorin mo naman yun dahil kay Masvidal eh, hindi naman dahil kay Usman eh, 'di ba?
Yeah.
BMF eh, BMF.
Grabe. Tulog eh.
Si nanalo din isang isang girl si
Shevchenko. Galing rin
yun, nanalo din siya, 'di ba?
Yeah. Galing rin yun.
Ganda rin yung laban na yun.
Saka for me, parang nakakatuwa siya tingnan. Parang okay yung aura niya. Seryoso lang, ganun.
Karakter din eh, 'di ba? Yung workout niya nung kapatid niya yung sumasayaw sila. Yung mga high kicks, 'di ba?
Yung kapatid niya magaling din, lumalaban din sa UFC actually. Speaking of, anyway, yung kanina, balik tayo, intro.
Balik tayo.
Sa guest natin.
Yung guest natin, nakilala ko around the same time, nakilala ko ang Urban Dub. He used to manage them. Brother din siya ni Lalay. Lagi tuwing nasa Cebu kami, lagi tong may bagong pinaparinig sa akin.
Paano kayo nag-meet?
Hindi ko na maalala eh.
Sa gig. Of course, sa gig, di ba?
Parang, syempre, may mga artists siya backstage. Lagi. So, nandun siya lagi sa gigs, di ba?
In Cebu or in Manila?
In Cebu. Naalala ko Cebu eh. Tapos sabi niya, "Bay, panurin mo to." O, "Bay, pakinggan mo to." O, "Bay, meron akong CD sa'yo, pakinggan mo." So, everybody from Urban Dub to Fast Pitch to Dicing K9. As eventually, after a few years, hindi na siya manager ng Urban Dub, but he was running a store with Lalay sa Eastwood.
Anong store?
Mga t-shirts and merch ng bands eh. Tapos, ang market nila are younger kids and he would bring parang bands from abroad. Mga pop-punk bands, dinadala niya. Ang dinadala ko na ngayon sa show, yung anak ko at the time. So may mga small shows siya sa Eastwood or saan ba yun? Sa may BGC din eh. Sa may Fort, sa may Piazza ba yun? Nagdadala siya ng mga artist. Hindi ko alam kung kasama yung mga Mayday Parade, parang basta lahat mga type ni Atari yung dala niya. Tapos eventually nga, I think he got married, moved back to Cebu. I could be wrong. And then now he's
You're right. Nabasa ko siya sa art. You're right. Nabasa ko sa art write-up. Anyway, sa article, sorry.
And then you guys met sa
Mike Shinoda
show, 'di ba? Kasama natin si Jamir.
Yeah.
Nandun si Jamir nun sa Mike Shinoda show. Tapos ka-text ko siya tinitext niya ako nung isang araw.
Ang galing na nagsakto rin na nag-message siya sa'yo.
Nag-message siya kasi he was watching Ryan's episode. Sabi niya, "Hey Rayms, so you're listening to UK drill. Here's an artist from the South na..." Tapos sabi ko, "Hey Alex, ganyan." Tapos kausap din kita around the same time. Sabi ko, "Hey, why not, So you do the intro." Kaya siya yung guest natin today.
Okay, so this week we are joined by the man responsible for bringing the South Side power of music to prominence in Pinoy rock. responsible for bands such as Urban Dub, Glitch, Power Spoons, The Ambassadors, just to name a few. He was the founder of Lighter Records and is now the A&R at Warner Records for the Vismin area. For episode 23, please welcome Alex Phat Boy Lim.
Yo!
Yo!
Lex.
Nakaporma ako kasi para mukha akong totoong
Tama naman. May spaceship ka pa dyan sa harap mo, ano?
Oo nga.
Parang ready ka for a podcast or Zoom meeting.
Actually, may podcast din kasi ako kaya meron ako nito.
Okay. Lex, nasa Manila ka ba or nasa South?
Cebu.
Na Cebu. Kumusta? Anong balita dyan?
Okay lang. Hindi siya, like I heard mas grabe daw yung mga nangyayari sa Manila now eh. But dito, okay lang. Steady naman. Nag-beach ako nung Sabado.
Wow.
Sunday.
Sarap. Kasama mo yung anak mo.
Yun yung anak, oo.
Lex.
Kami na lang ng anak ko eh. Kasi single dad na ako now eh.
Ganun ba? Lex, kinikanto earlier kay Daren, nag-meet tayo sa maybe 15, 20 years ago. Nung nag-meet tayo, may scene na sa Cebu eh. But let's go back. Let's go back before. How was it growing up? What did you listen to? What kind of scene were you exposed to did you grow up in the city or sa province and having Lalay as a sister? Why is she playing bass and you're not playing an instrument and you got to promoting and management and from the start?
Umpisa na ba tayo? Ay, tama, nagre-record na pala. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Paano ba? I remember nag-meet tayo way back pa eh. Like I even was slightly I still remember that I met you when you were with the Eraserheads pa way back, And then but it wasn't sort of like it was like one of those fan meets lang na I'm one of those guys who just loves the music and I went to your event, and yun lang, sort of like never had like too much of like parang by association talaga. I think the only time we met na was when I think if I'm not mistaken, it was because of the scene in Cebu and with Urban Dub having to be part of that scene. So before kasi naalala ko yun na parang I think initial things na nangyayari for Manila and Cebu connection was it was because of Sheila and the Insects. They were actually one of the, I guess, Cebu artists that really sort of went out of their way to actually go to Manila, and started just doing the indie route. And they were like, for me, pinakamagandang example talaga na nangyari sa amin. Kasi, yun, I came from, back in the days kasi I came from a band. Nag-college, nagbanda ako. Actually, high school pala, going to college. Pero it was just for fun. Naging serious siya for a bit because of some contest. Usually it happens in radio station. May mga contest for band, Battle of the Bands. I was a bassist in a band. And I was just like, I was listening to a lot of, back in the days, madalas nasa ako sa glam metal. Yung the likes of, the first one I heard was really Bon Jovi, and then after that nagbago siya nung nakita ko yung album cover ng Appetite for Destruction. So yun na, napunta na ako sa dark side. Na-influence ako ng mga graphics ng mga album cassette tapes. So that was really the start of, say, my music journey, being a bassist. But I come from a family kasi that loves music as well. My mom is a singer of a show band. My dad used to own a club, and that's how they met. So yeah, so it's really like one of those stories na parang, yeah, music story siya. Nabuo ako dahil sa music story na yun.
Diyan lang si Rayms.
Okay. Yeah, so yun, nag-start siyang ganun, and then of course along the way si Papa mahilig sa Beatles, nakikinig a lot of mga songs from folk rock and country, all that stuff. So may idea talaga kami sa music, and then especially because my mom was in a show band, so palaging kapa-kapa ng music, so we always get to listen to music in the house kasi before going to a gig, like pa-practice, you know. So kami ni Lalay was, and my brother also was so exposed to music. So I tried it out, like, you know, because I think it was inborn in you see these kinds of things, diba, sa bahay. So yun, nag-try out, like I started picking up my guitar, ganon. And I kind of was a bit, like I had a few, I can say a few wins. Hindi naman siya super successful like what happened to the bands that I managed. But it was like something that, you know, I started to learn about music writing, having a band, organization, all these behind the scenes stuff because of being in a band. And I was always that guy in the band scene was always observing other bands, but then was more excited about the other bands rather than my band. You know, so I don't know if it was a good thing for us that I was like that, but it kind of made me be observant of like, oh, and like when I look at a certain band, ano bang meron sa kanya, anong kulang sa kanya, oy sana ganito to, oy ganyan. So I was always that guy, you know, so even if I was in a band. And I kind of played around with a couple of bands as well. I was in a punk band, I was in a grunge band, I was in a metal band. Medyo marami din akong dinaanan. So while I was doing that, Lalay was always seeing what I was doing. She was a guitarist before she became a bassist. And then I told her na the band that we were in, I was playing bass, and as much as I want to be like Sting, I couldn't do singing and at the same time playing bass, right? So I said to Lalay, like, can we switch? Like, can you be the bassist? I'll be the. At first, she didn't want to do it kasi parang, nah, I don't want to be a bassist. That's like, you know, 4-string, you know, ganun pa si Lalay dati.
So who's older between the two of you? Sa inyo ni Lalay?
Ako. I'm the eldest. I'm the eldest. So, but I told Lalay na, you know, the bass, you know, I told him like what her that what the bass is all about. Pero nag-change lang yung path niya when I let her see this instructional video of Chad Smith and Flea. And I know everyone, it was a monumental, one of those VHS monumental videos of Flea and Chad Smith instructional.
Was it Chad? Or I think it was...
Naalala mo ba yung Rayms dati?
I think it was River Phoenix.
No, it was Chad Smith and Flea. It was Chad
Smith and Flea. Okay.
There was really one of these old instructional Red Hot Chili Pepper videos back in the days that they were like trying to teach. So when Lalay saw Flea, you know, for the first time, dun siya sige na nga, bassist na lang ako. Ganun. So doon nag-start, naging bassist siya, and then we were still in a band that time, and eventually what ended up happening was I was in a band with her for almost 4 years, I think, and I just sort of got fed up, kind of got tired of the scene in Cebu because you can only do so much back then in the late 90s, and it was always parang looking at Manila that time, like listening to you guys, Razorhead, and it's like, this is so frustrating, you know, like what's happening here for bands who wants to play original music ba. So it was just so parang there was a lot of questions in my mind, parang bakit kaya ganito, bakit di tayo ganyan, like I was like, again, because I was that guy, I broke, like I parang called it quits with the band, and then I just started sort of like getting myself into certain situations like, mapupunta ako sa media, mapupunta ako sa newspapers, magsusulat ako konti about sa scene. Meron akong association with NU when NU was in Cebu. Things like that. Mga small
You had a
behind-the-scene
fanzine,
things.
right?
But
You had a fanzine.
Yeah, that was after na. Like when I started going na to Manila, to Manila, that was really no. Before going to Manila pala, I started that fanzine. Actually, that's the reason when I was doing the media stuff, parang I was looking for sort of like a parang a piece of, because I was writing already that time, but my writing was just like, like fairly basic. But I was trying to describe the scene, and then I realized that I was like, hey, you know what if we come up with like something that would just, and in the punk scene, because I learned that whole fanzine culture, because I was one of the, I guess I was one of the people who was part of the fanzine production of this group called SRA in Cebu. It's like a punk rock, a punk community. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm part of that, but I was friends of the founders, so I was actually part of the making of those production of the fanzine. I listened to a lot of punk, but I was not super hardcore how those guys, my friends, were. So, but I helped them kasi wala pang Photoshop dati, so we had to photocopy everything, and I was I was helping them with that. But because of that, I learned how to do the fanzine concept. And then yun, one day I just thought na parang, what if I make sort of a fanzine for the local music scene in general? It's not just about the punk rock scene, but it's like in general what Cebu has to offer, So I called it Lighter Press that time. It was just a one-page, parang bond paper, tas tiniklop ko, tas yun na yun. Tapos kaya siya Lighter Press kasi mas lighter siya than usual kasi isang ano lang siya. So yeah, that's how it started, and doon na nag-umasok yung interest ko sa Cebu music scene as part of a fanzine. My interest in music scene of Cebu has always been there since the 80s, since the early 90s and late 80s, but doon ako naging parang part of the community na when I was releasing that fanzine. It mga ano rin ako noon mga I think almost 20 issues. Kasi monthly. So, so we kind of printed like I remember I think 500 copies of it, photocopy, but then it became more, nagkaroon ng konting budget, ginawa naming printing press na. So, medyo nung dumating na sa Manila kami, medyo may printing press na form na siya, hindi na siya yung talagang photocopy form. So, yun yung start nung interest ko sa music scene sa South. And the flag bearer of that whole movement with the fanzine was really because there was a lot of things happening in Cebu that time. So sobrang from hip-hop, reggae, ang dami talagang certain factions, but then the channel wasn't enough ba. So I think the fanzine kind of consolidated everything where you can find sila Junior Kilat there, sila Sheila, sa New Wave, Sheila and the Insects. You find different artists like Dice and K9, like all these local artists here. And eventually, yun, from there, because I discovered, tapos Urban Dub was also part of that, I started my first my first independent label, which is Lighter Records, because I had Lighter Press, saw the potentials of all the artists na kumbaga sinulat ko or sinulat ng mga kasama ko doon. Tapos nakita ko, si Dice and K9 was the first artist I signed, like I signed as an indie. They didn't know really what to do that time. They just wanted to release something, but they have an idea creatively what they want, but they didn't know the business side. Ako naman, I didn't really know the business side, but I just wanted to try, I guess, helping. And then yun, nagkaroon ng the more you practice kasi the more mistakes you do, the more you get sharper at what you do, I guess. So yun, it was such a great time, I guess, kasi I would never think na out of that passion, I get to create that label. And then if to look at the history of Cebu or South in general, it's like I managed to have two artists under an independent label who became national. So it was Dyson K9 and Dub, and it never happened for us here back in the days. If there was something that happened like that, it's usually you get signed to a major label, but it doesn't even happen madalas kasi wala naman kasi talaga ang South kasi is not, there's no business for it ba sa music scene in general kasi nasa Manila talaga ang capital ng negosyo ng music or where the business happens, from gigging to bookings and all that.
Lex, before my video was cut earlier, you mentioned na your mom was singing in a band.
Yeah.
Na-mention mo ba how was it? Did you guys grow up going to her shows?
Yeah. We did pumupunta kami sa show, tapos parang kami may idea na talaga kami sa club life. Club kasi, literally club kasi talaga tawag dati sa mga tugtugan ng mga ng mga show band. Tapos my dad kasi before, hindi ko na naabutan yun, but my dad used to own a club also where my mom performed. So that's really how,
Lex, what happened when you left Urban Dub? I didn't really know what happened, but you put up a shop in Eastwood. I was telling Daren. Tell us about that.
Actually, I was still with Urban Dub that time. I had a shop in Eastwood. It was called Built by Sonic, and it was an offset of Sonic Boom's. We had a couple of mga booths kasi sa Sonic Boom noon mga merchandise booths.
What is Sonic Booth?
What is
Sonic Boom? What is Sonic Boom?
Sonic Boom is an event that I founded in 2006. Yeah, I think that was the first event in Sagiho, 2006, Sonic Boom. It was sort of my, kasi ang ko nga dati, nung first time ako sa Manila, nakita ko yung eksena ng Admit One. And I was like a big fan of that, like all these mga prod production But what I kind of sort of why I wanted to make one on my own was the thing was, I have noticed ko kasi na parang there were a lot of artists kasi na parang needs a channel pa aside from just having the ones that are existing, and mostly because coming from the South, marami ding mga taga-South na gustong tumugtog sa Manila but doesn't know where to start, So I wanted to bridge that gap where, since nauna na kami dito sa Manila, I wanted to make sure na it was open. Since I had that fanzine before, I knew all the contacts in the South. So I was always giving them an avenue na, hey, if ever you go to Manila, I'll help you guys have a gig. We can, so it really started that way. And then another thing that sort of we broke that time as a production outfit was, I remember kasi, and that's why we call it Sonic Boom in the first place, because I've noticed kasi all the prods before were in-house, meaning they had always a home ba. For example, if Admit One is Freedom Bar, they're really known as a Freedom Bar production outfit. And then siguro sila Revolver, they have their own house din, parang ganon. So what I've noticed na parang like I was thinking, what if yung fan ng isang artist is taga-Alabang? Does he have to go to QC to actually just watch like those bands? So I started devising an idea of like doing a tour in a year where every month, different venues see Sonic Boom. So it kind of broke that whole concept na pwede mag-jump from one bar to the other. Kasi I saw the bands doing that. The bands were jumping from different bars to the other, but the production wasn't doing that. So what I was thinking is, what if we just like move it around, So yun, kaya tinawag ko rin siyang Sonic Boom. So it actually started that whole parang, okay, you can be in Sagiho this month, next month you're gonna be this venue. Basta we lined up 12 venues that hindi siya nagre-repeat in a year. And then we also try to find like newer venues na hindi pa ginagamit ng iba. That was one of the things na trinay namin na we were always, I guess, one step ahead of newer venues because we always try to, even if the venue doesn't even have an idea of how bands would work, we try to talk to them and convince them that, yeah, it can work for you guys. Parang ganun. So, if you notice the mga venues namin dati, there were a lot of venues na nag-break dahil sa Sonic Boom because they weren't So, because of that event, nagkaroon ka ng mga merch, then nagkaroon ng shop kasi nakita ko yung influx ng mga ini-invite ko na mga merch people sa mga bands, and then yun, nakita ko lang na parang dumadami. I mean, again, nakita ko lang yung parang the need of it. So, gumawa ako ng shop and tried it out, and then it was I guess it was the biggest investment kasi parang mall na kasi, di ba? But it was a really small place naman, but parang I just wanted to try it out to legitimize the merchandising in a way na galing siya sa parang bar gig, di ba? And then it kind of connected having that shop na hindi lang siya local but even the foreign bands started connecting with me to sell their merch in the shop. So that's the reason why we started doing Sonic Boom events na may mga foreign bands na. Because of the shop. The shop really kind of like opened that door for us. Parang ganun.
Can you also talk about neoground.com and bakit mo still
Paano mo nalaman yan? Ang lumaman yan. Like, that was like, oh my God, that was 99, 2000. Yeah, that actually started. Yeah, that was sort of my first attempt to do events. But I was under San Miguel that time. Parang like I was an apprentice of this guy from San Miguel, and that's how I actually met you guys, because of a San Miguel event. It was an Eraserheads. It was the first SMB Music Awards. And I remember we got Eraserheads to play for that. Tama, naalala ko na. That was 1999. Yeah. May kwento pa nga ako dyan like may kwento ako dyan The Don, si Francis M. Ewan ko lang kung nakwento ni Gabi to.
Francis Brew.
Francis Brew sa The Don. I don't know kung nakwento ni Gabi to because Gabi was one of the PAs. PA si Gabi dun sa events ko ng Neo Ground. That's how he started with me. He was a PA of some of the artists that I know. And then I remember hinatid na namin si Francis Brew and The Don sa hotel. Sabi ko, sir, was a great show. Tapos biglang nasa elevator ka. You guys did great. Tapos bigla, salamat. Tapos sara yung elevator. Salamat. Ganda, sabi namin ni Gabi, that was monumental, di ba? Parang yung sa movies eh. Diba? So yeah, yun yung Newground was a .com company that I started to do events. We were the first sort of .com party website back in the days. So we were just covering events, doing events for San Miguel. The concept there was when I was building that .com site in 98, 99, sabi ko, baka siguro magpa-party lahat ng tao, no? 2000. Gawa kaya tayo ng website na party lang siya. And then, tinry ko with a bunch of friends. Ayun, naging kami na yung parang pupunta kami dun sa lahat ng events, tatawagan kami ng lahat ng bars. Oh, sige, punta kayo, tapos mag-cover. Ayun lang. Yun lang yun. It's just one reason for us to party, basically. So, but it kind of worked because San Miguel actually got us more and more events because of that company. Wow, I think, early 20s pa ako nun. 20 ako nun. If I'm not mistaken, 21. Mga ganun.
What about in Sonic Boom? When you started putting up these shows, I used to bring my daughter when she was younger, diba? Which bands from the South did you bring and which foreign bands did you bring? Ano lang ako hatid sundo bawal ako tumambay Not cool eh. Not cool to have your pops watching you eh.
But it was so. But it was amazing though. Like there's a lot of that also happened. Salamat ulit doon, Rayms. One time nang hiram ata ako ng equipment sa'yo because one of the foreign bands needed that equipment.
I don't remember.
I think it was a keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those bands called Issues. Yung pangalan ng banda, tapos pumunta kayo sa Venice Piazza, tapos nag-message ako sa'yo kasi I know you were going because of so nagtanong lang ako, may kilala kayong kasi nagpapahanap yung DJ nila na nagki-keyboard. Yun, so but yeah, siguro mga rin, tingin ko mga almost 14 at mga 12 artists siguro nadala ko sa The first artist I brought in for Sonic Boom was NoFX. Which is a punk band from the US, si Fat Mike. Tapos then we brought in Mayday Parade. We were the first one who brought Mayday Parade to the Philippines. I need to remember 4 Years Strong, Silverstein, Issues, We the Kings. Marami-rami din eh. Tapos
madami.
Yeah, tapos madami and it was really because of the shop. Kasi parang I never had any idea of yung parang madalas kasi local talaga ako sa Sonic Boom eh. So but then I do listen to a lot of foreign artists, but because of that culture na nabigay nung shop, doon ko nalaman yung mga ibang artists. And I think that's also what I guess parang kind of made me sort of survive in a way sa music scene pa rin because I really love to listen to newer music, I love to discover. Hanggang ngayon nga, like I'm already in my 45 now ngayong May, and I'm still listening to like trap music. It's like so weird. Nakikinig ako ng trap, man. Like mga yun, yung sabi mo UK drill, yung mga ganyan. It's just
Hey, I'm 49. I'm turning 50 this May. So, okay lang yan. I think music is wala naman dapat age limit sa music eh.
Yeah. Totoo.
We can listen to old music or new music as long as you like it, diba?
Yeah. Pero yung mga friends ko talaga, Rayms, parang, ano yung pinapakinggan mo? Ganun. Like, nangyayari sa music mo. Si Lalay nga, hindi na niya ako maintindihan eh. Dati kami pa, vibes kami ni Lalay sa music eh. Ngayon parang, di ako yung music mo ngayon. Ganun si Lalay.
Speaking of listening to new music, kasi nung last na episode with Maps, nabanggit niya sa amin the first time that she heard Urban Dub. As in yung how she felt and napaka-monumental daw nun. So since sinabi mo kanina na it was hard to break through, pwede mo ba ikwento yung how hard it was breaking through sa Manila scene? And ano yung feeling now na parang juxtaposition na baliktad na parang, di ba sa Cebu dyan lahat ng magagaling? Parang bumaliktad na siya.
That's a really great question, and may isa akong kwento dyan na nakakatawa. But before that, parang the thing is, it was so hard from the beginning kasi there was no proof of concept eh. Wala siyang, no one had really no one broke. The closest that we saw that broke Manila was Sheila and the Insects. That was like the closest thing that we can make as an example that time. But we don't have sort of a proof of concept kung paano maging national artist, and we didn't even plan to become that, right? We just wanted to try na parang okay, baka pwede, diba? But I really believe that, I guess it was also timing. I think, aside from a great band like Urban Dub, it was also like really timing. It was something that was like parang nung pumunta kami, nakita ko talaga din yung parang there was a need of something new. It was just because the music scene in Manila was, I guess, like it was a bit saturated, and there's a lot of great bands but no storytelling coming from the South. So parang it kind of gave that whole new meaning ba na parang pagdating and then plus pa pagdating pa sa Manila, wala silang katunog. Yun pa yung maganda doon, 'di ba? So it kind of gave that whole parang parang new meaning to what the South has to offer, you know, kasi ako coming from the South, you know, generally I hear a lot of music here that sometimes I think na sayang to pag nalagyan to ng platform sa Manila, magkakaroon sana to ng, you know, like ano. So pero yun may difference talaga kasi ang how the sound that's coming from Manila and the South. It's always been like that ever since. And it's I think it's also because of the radio stations back in the days we listened to here and the radio stations on how they operate din sa Manila. It's so different. Like for example, even the top 40 radio stations like say a Magic or a Monster Radio, pag pinakinggan mo yung Monster Radio at Magic dito, hindi siya pareho yung style. I don't know if that's a good thing to say kasi baka ma-trouble yung rito, but I noticed the DJs here would probably insert songs that are fairly their taste compared to just what the programming tells them. And it's also because I guess majority rin na influence talaga sa NU eh. And most of the DJs, even if they're working with the pop radio station, most of them listens to NU, and that whole I guess attitude of like, you know, I want to push my taste, I want to be, you know. So kaya if you listen to some of the things that are coming out from Cebu, hindi siya the usual na nangyayari sa ano ang radio station style din sa Manila. Which also for me, there's a pros and cons kasi minsan pag masyado ka namang niche, di ba? Hindi ka naman narinig ano. But I guess because maliit naman ng Cebu, we were always happy with what numbers we get. Like if we actually get like 50 people to go to a show, that's already like success for us, you know. So ibang expectation level ba, so we give it our all. That's the thing, like how even if konti lang yung ano, basta kaya nga napansin mo nung Urban Dub performed in Freedom Bar for the first time, I remember that the second day yun the second day of Urban Dub in Manila, and nakaka-pressure because everyone was there. Like a lot of musicians were there, and it wasn't an audience of just it was an audience of musicians in Manila, right? And I like everybody. Sabala was there. I think you were there.
I was there.
Rayms, you know, yeah. And I remember, basta after the performance, people were just asking me like, paano napatunog ng ganon yung Freedom Bar? It's like really like I really thought they had a really good equipment, you know, like because we never had those equipment in Cebu. We had crappier equipment than what Freedom Bar has to offer, right? So, you know, nothing bad about that, I guess, about you know in Cebu. But yun, dami nagtanong nun. So I think that's also another thing, like because we have lack of resources back in the days, I think it makes us more parang experimental of how to make the sound really great. Kasi yun nga, hindi kulang sa resource. Of course now, it's another story. Medyo mas lahat ng bata ngayon may resources na eh. Diba? Maski sa sulok-sulukan ka ng Visayas, Mindanao, may tunog malaki na pakinggan eh. Yung ganun. Dahil sa technology, diba?
Lex, what made you, since Sonic Boom was doing really well, it was big shows, it was big venues and a lot of fans, the store was doing well, what made you go back to Cebu?
Well, two things actually. Really, family. My dad and my mom was a bit sick, you know, and my dad was trying to convince me to go back to the family business, you know, para
which is
the construction. We're the family is part of the distribution of this heavy equipment in Manila, like you know, nationally. So yeah, we're that kind of Chinese. so nasa ano, so bumalik ako, and then second is of course I got married, you know. I sort of like just had to leave everything, and then at the same time I was really at that point kasi I was a bit burned out na rin kasi parang Lalay started when Lalay got married, and parang when we weren't living together kasi we used to live together. Parang I felt na parang wow, am I gonna be like alone forever? like that. That's always something that you ano eh. Pero of course that was a bad thing I guess for me to mag-isip ka ng ganyan, di ba? But you know, and then na timing lang, you know, and then, you know, umuwi akong Cebu. So parang nakita ko lang yung point na, and then I remember kasi that time si Urban Dub decided na rin talaga to call it quits kasi 15 years na. So parang sabi ko, okay, sige, I mean, about time. But when I look back, sometimes may regret nga, parang sana hindi na lang, no? But at the same time, na-realize ko na it was really sort of a chapter that I had to end. Na kasi parang, I can consider that journey was sort of one of my peak moments in the music industry. It's not probably like financially, it's like, oh, you made it, but it's really more of like all the dreams you had from where you were from Cebu, you've already done it. Kasi nandun ka na sa Manila, nagkaroon ka ng shop, may all the independents or even the majors know who you are because you've worked with them, you know? So like, para sa akin, I was already parang okay na to, parang I don't really, you know, and then part of also the journey was trying to look for that spiritual side, you know? So when I went home, yun nga, parang bago yung life lessons ko, kumbaga, ganun. So I thought I wasn't gonna go back sa music scene kasi I was already doing well with the business, the family business. You know, I had my kid, you know, so okay na, as in like wala talaga, but then iba parang that music bug is always there eh. Like, hindi talaga matanggal eh, parang gaganunin ka eh.
We always kept in touch and then you would occasionally message me either privately or on Twitter, guys, like, hey, listen to my show, or how'd you get back, and which artists got you back to the music business?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yung I was kasi parang so nag-rest na ako. That was 2015. I was at the highlight nun kasi I was managing Clara Benin, I was managing December Avenue, I was managing. So imagine those artists now, they're like huge now, right? So parang it was some of my friends like, bakit ka umalis sa eksena? Ikaw na sana yung ano. Sabi ko, but that's, you know, that's how life is, right? So what got me back talaga was after 2 years of just doing family and stuff, I've been parang my friend in radio had this slot called Local Vocal. Magic has Local Vocal, diba, in Manila. And then my friend, his name's Jack, I know him from way back pa, banda pa kami, magkakilala na kami. And one day he told me, yo, bye, like punta ka dito sa show, Local Vocal Sunday, baka gusto mo mag-co-host sa akin, you know. So yun, nag-start ako, magpunta lang once a week para lang, you know, para lang merong so you know, like para lang maglabas ng parang nangyayari, di ba? Like mga things na nangyayari sa buhay, ilabas ulit, parang escape, sort of an escape from the realities of life. That radio show was really the one of the things na nag sa akin. So from there, I was starting listening, then natuto ako sa top 40 kasi magic eh. So listening to a lot of top 40 music, I was like, whoa, parang eto yung hindi ko pa alam like kasi rock na rock ako dati, di ba? So parang hindi ko to alam So ano nangyari dito? Doon nakilala ko tong mga Dua Lipa, itong mga Sinto, parang okay naman tong music na to Ayos din itong pagkagawa, parang ganun ba? Because I used to think of pop differently back in the days, you know, like I was one of those. I guess I could say I'm not 100% hindi rin ako maraming alam sa pop, but I used to like cringe when it comes to pop back in the days, you know, parang pop, boy band, mga ganun. But then what I've come to realize nung nagtrabaho ako sa Magic was it was really challenging, this whole pop thing. Like there were things that they were doing na parang paano nila ginagawa yun? Like ganito, ganyan. So nakita ko yung side na yun, and then I was trying to look for like that in Cebu. So sabi ko, meron ba kayang ganito? Kaya I'm sure if these are what the kids are listening to, baka meron namang reflection. Kung ako dati, nakikinig akong ganyan, kaya ako na nagkaroon ng know-how, baka meron namang ganyan. So, one day, I was just researching on SoundCloud and I met a couple of bedroom producers on SoundCloud. And because I was already doing my show on Local Vocal, but the interesting part of it talaga was the SoundCloud community that I got into, where I was listening to music that was done in Vismin, even in Manila, na parang, uy, okay to ah, bakit no one's talking about these guys? And ganda ng production, you know? Like, so I created a show called Beat This and just started doing all these parang electronic computer music, right? I call them compositions kasi mga computer musicians sila eh. So parang nagkakaroon ng mga ganong naglabasan tong mga EDM, DJ producers, beat makers, ganon. So gumawa ako ng parang separate show to just focus on these newer sounds na local. So yun, dun nag-start. Tapos bumalik talaga ako sa eksena because I found one artist that went to that show. Her name's Karencita, and she was at that time so new pa. And I was listening to her stuff, and she let me listen to this one song, which is, you know, history tells na it was the biggest song nationally, called Cebuana, you know. And that time I heard it, I said, Karen, malaking song to. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm not managing, I'm not not part of the music business anymore. Sabi niya like, oh sir, baka we can play it, ganun. Like, so I started playing it, like, you know, but like, and then it just picked up on radio, and then you know, yun na, nag-start na yung paglabas ng music video, nagkakaroon na ng traction, tas nagtanong siya sa akin kung sinong kausap sa mix, ganyan, hanggang sa nag-spill over lahat from there. And then the other artist that was on that Beat This show also started becoming parang nagpipick up siya. So sa South mismo, lumalaki yung eksena nung hip-hop na Bisaya, which is si Karen had that Bisaya lyrics on that song. But it was done properly in a way where the production value was so high. She did it in English, bilingual style, English Bisaya, but it didn't sound like something that was done here before. So when it came out, it sounds so parang may international level yung dating eh. Yung parang Despacito, hindi mo siya naintindihan pero alam mong, uy, vibe to ah. Parang ganun. So yun yung nangyari talaga. Like, then that's where I got some emails, some major labels started asking me if I want to work for them as an A&R. Tapos Kelly was the one who called me up and convinced me to work for Warner.
Kelly Mangahas.
Yeah.
Of Kwan. Wait,
yeah.
A couple of years ago, you brought a hip-hop art or a couple of hip-hop groups.
Yeah,
you played in the same show.
Mid Nasty, yeah.
Mid Nasty, yes. Are they still active?
Yeah, that's another artist that parang was part of that whole Beat This show where sila din nakabreak ako ng isang kanta nila. Tapos like naging big sa radio station, and then nagkaroon sila ng big Vismin visibility. Man, like yung Mid Nasty, when I remember when I put up a show in Cebu, the last time 2018 yun, like 2,000 people just goes to that show. It's like ang grabe. I was so shocked because they're from Dumaguete, and I didn't even see anything like that before. Na parang, you put a Dumaguete artist in Cebu. Usually hindi papansin ng mga taga Cebu yan, like kasi may mga malalaki kaming artist din eh. But these guys were just like kicking everyone's like, you know, like every time perform sila, one time dinala namin sila sa nakabook ako sa kanila. So I started booking them, you know, just on the side hustle while I was doing my family business. And I booked them in Cagayan, ganun. And every time they play, like sa Jensen alone, mga 5,000 katao pumupunta, mga ganun. And they were not a national artist. They were like, no one knows who they are, but they're getting that much crowd. So doon ko nakita yung parang, uy, may nangyayari sa South na it's not about just Cebu anymore. It's about it's about all the cities around Visayas, Mindanao. There's something every city has to offer now, you know. So yun yung
Lex,
ano.
since you're in Warner now, you're with Warner now, right?
Yeah.
You've been yesterday or a few days ago you were sending me some profiles of your artists. Tell us about them. Kasi one of these days we'd like to have them on the show to represent the Vismin part of the music world.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
Who should we watch
Right
out?
now it's been yeah. Magto 2 years, just to give you feedback, magto 2 years na ako sa Warner. I now have, I think, almost 20 distributed artists in the Visayas and Mindanao. So I think it's the highest of all, I guess, of all the majors right now to have that distribution. Ano. And I guess the advantage is because I really am from here and I've grown here. I know how most of the, well, not necessarily know, but at least I have an idea how everyone thinks here, right? You know, so, you know, and then the biggest example kasi of me carrying an urban dub and Dyson K9 and even just the South bringing into Manila is a good example of how I can relate to these artists. So one of the few things to watch out for that I can say right now is this artist, this duo from Ormoc Leyte, which is a very small provincial area here in Visayas. They're called Rion, and they're a duo artist. So they're like a guy girl duo, and it's like it's bedroom indie pop kind of sound. They basically produce their own. Started out their music. I heard them in January 2020. They just recorded their tracks on a cell phone, but then I sort of started becoming serious on them when I heard their sixth single, because I could feel that the kids were becoming better at what they do, right? So kasi when I listened to the song the first time, okay lang eh, like okay, sige, hintayin nga natin yung second or third, ganun. Kasi hindi kagaya dati na gagawa ng album tapos mapapakinggan mo talaga yung artist. Ngayon kasi parang if mag-release sila ng isang kanta, it doesn't really define them right away. Parang minsan isipin mo, tingnan nga natin kung makagawa pa ba ito ng 2 or 3 kanta. But then on their sixth single, yun, doon ko na sila na talagang, okay, I have to talk to these guys. You know? So yun, kinausap ko sila, told them about what we do at Warner, ganito. Medyo na-overwhelmed sila kasi medyo indie yung style nila. But ever since that time, na-sign ko sila for distribution lang, they won the Philpop this year. Number 1 to 5,000 entries sila nanalo. So that's a good sign for them because mga veterans din kasing mga judges sa Philpop eh. So gustong-gusto sila ni Ogie Alcacid, nakita ko yung reaction niya sa pagpakinig sa kanila. And then now this year they're gonna be fully signed to Warner. So they're the first South artist under my wing na parang fully now national artist na by June. So Rion is one to watch, and another kid that is for me another to watch is like Paul Pablo, which is he comes from Davao naman, and he's doing more pop music. But I created this genre for him called Hugotronic, you know, so which is it's like hugot music but in an electronic form, you know. Wala, invento lang just to give him like a sort of a storytelling, you know. So his song right now, single, umaakyat ngayon, as in is getting more and more. Nasaan na kami, almost 70,000 listens na kami since a month pa lang eh, a month release. So ano siya eh, may familiarity kasi siya, Rayms. It sounds like it's a classic OPM way of singing it, like, and everything. But then it has this modern electro style that's that is on there. So yun sila. And then yeah, I think that's the two artists I could say na to watch out for.
Alam ko na, si Daren and I always been talking about a Offstage Hang playlist. So can you please give us, a link of a playlist after this interview? Padalan mo kami ni Daren of the Vismin artists that you want you want our listeners to check out us, me and Daren, to check out, diba? You always sending me playlists, so send us a link make us a playlist and send us a link.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You can include
Of
captions
all South. I have a playlist here, all of my releases, but yeah, it's better na I can segregate it to the South lang, no? Sige, sige.
So, I just wanted to ask, what do you think yung, because you mentioned na you're not just looking for yung sa Cebu na lang, also sa Vismin, ganyan. So what do you think is the importance of not just supporting OPM, pero yung mas local scene talaga? Kasi like you said, marami pang artist na hindi national. So why is it important parang to bring them to light?
To na I think as much as siguro, I think the importance siguro is just to get the variety of it, you know, kasi parang there's a lot of sounds kasi that are coming out from the South na I feel na in a way should not be ignored, I guess. Like I'm not saying it has to be the it song of, you know, like that we have to, but I really just believe that there are, like Urban Dub back in the days or Dyson K9, I think that gut feeling I have na parang, I think this will probably contribute something if it was heard, you know. And I guess, I don't know where that is coming from. Is it maybe because I also am a radio DJ back in the days or something, or me listening to a lot of music, but parang I always try to find certain parang parang music like kami ni Rayms dati, like I always ask Rayms for like anong bagong sound trip, ganyan, 'di ba? So parang I always feel that there is room for people like, you know, me and you and whoever who loves to try out newer music. I mean, of course ngayon mas crazy na lang talaga kasi dahil available na nga online, ang dami naman talagang dami na talagang music na wala na, you can't catch up. Ang hirap na mag-catch up talaga. But even to that extent na marami ng music that is out there na hard to catch up. Parang I still feel that the South is not yet well defined. I mean, well defined of its place talaga in the national music scene. And that's my goal as part of Warner now, to actually really look at it. There is, because here it's not yet an industry, wala pa talaga as in, but by doing these kinds of moves now, being with a label like Warner, it might kind of change that structuring ba? Baka maging industry na. So, naalala ko kasi Mid-Nasty, when we went to Manila for the Mix Music Awards, tapos they were so overwhelmed sa backstage how the other artists, like, you know, even like naka-ready na yung mga makeup artists, yung mga ganun, like, parang nagulat sila na ganito palang Manila. Like yung mga, may mga roadie, mga ganyan. Tapos sabi ko lang sa kanila, like, dito kasi talagang, they've been, ito yung parang, they breathe these things, you know, here. Sa atin kasi, we don't have these kinds of structuring. So, of course, magugulat ka talaga sa anong meron ang Manila talaga. Sabi ko nga sa kanila, lalo na pag pumunta ka sa labas, mas magugulat ka doon. Dami ring mas grabing overwhelming things, right? So, sabi ni Nico sa akin, Sir Lex, anong tingin mo? Magiging ganito kaya ang South? Sabi ko, depende. Like, ako sabi ko lang sa kanila, one day it'll become like that. But there has to be people in the industry who would believe that will happen. Yun. So, isa ako sa naniniwala nun, pero it's not gonna take overnight. It's gonna probably have a couple of years pa. But by this step of doing a distribution platform already for the South, this will sort of like, this is a roadmap getting there, you know.
Ganda. I have a question, siguro baka last question for me. Tanong ko lang, how did you get the nickname Fatboy?
Ay, kasalanan ng NU107 yun.
Talaga? Talaga?
Kasalanan ng NU yan. Kasi I was doing apprentice stuff. I was a mall rat back in the days, and I was just hanging out in the mall. And then NU107 was in Ayala, diba? Rayms, when you guys visited there, diba? So I was always hanging out at the coffee shop, just like how a 90s kid would be would be doing like in the coffee shop. Tapos like bum, di ba? Parang ganun. College dropout, di ba? Parang, you know. Tapos ano yon, punta ako doon, tapos naging parang I was with this friend who I got him in to become a DJ. And he, of course, being a DJ in NU, ang NU kasing magsasabi ko anong pangalan mo eh. Ganun yun eh. Parang, so nabigyan siya ng pangalan. Ako na hindi ako kasama sa NU, I was just hanging out with this friend of mine who became a really great DJ in NU. So I was there. Binigyan nila akong pangalan. Like I'm not even part of NU, right? So, in the year 2000, malakas si Fatboy Lim eh. You know? So I don't know if it was Jerry Driss. I can't remember who actually said that to me, but eto, pangalan niya, Fatboy Lim. You know, kasi as I like, tawahan ng lahat, like, you know, like, nagtatawa nila ako nun. So, ako naman parang, wala, tawa din ako. But eventually, every time I go to the station, tinatawag ko, Fatboy, gumagano na sila sa akin. So, I just carried it na lang and just change it to PH instead of, because I get it. I get the joke. I get the joke, right? But I was thinking, yeah, instead ng papikon ka, edi gamitin na lang natin, di ba? So, ayun, nadala ko na lang siya hanggang ngayon. Parang gano'n.
Lex, I have a last question before we let you go. Every week, Lex, Daren, every week, there's somebody trying to send me tracks. Random people, random kids, parang Rayms.
Sana ako doon.
Oh, no. Ikaw may reason why you send me tracks, right? But these are random people, parang, can you please listen to my track? And I'm like, why? Tapos, ikaw naintindihan ko because we're friends, di ba? But most people, and I want to address this publicly, parang, so you can help us in the music industry. And I would tell them, sabi ko, but I don't know what you mean, or hindi ako yung dapat lapitan nyo because I don't know how to manage. I don't know anything about the business. I know how to make songs and how to make songs work and how to produce songs, but I don't know anything about the business. Now we're speaking to you as a label head, as a promoter, as a producer, as a manager, as somebody who's been in the scene, who's been taking care of especially of the Vismin scene. What can these kids? What's your advice to these kids? Where do they go? Who should they talk to? Diba? My only advice is like parang, if you like these bands, like try to go to where they hang out, or try to find out who's managing them, or try to find out who their label is and reach out to them. But it's not me. It's not me. So coming from you, coming from all your, your skill set, what is your advice to these young budding talents?
For me, I think for all these budding artists, I think it's also culturally ganun na kasi talaga sila kasi they're so sanay to release things online, so that's why they're like that. They most of them think that it's just okay, you're just one message away, so I'll message you, right? I'm so ngayon nga I have this 19-year-old kid. Before I met I signed him to distribution of the label. His name's Treb. At 16 he was always just like, sir, like the kakulitan is there. I mean, I like it because it's a hustler move, but at the same time parang I was one of, I told him this specific thing that I told him, which I'm gonna say now, is that like to have an impact to a certain person you want to make an impact. Like for example, if it's a Raymund Marasigan or it's a Daren Lim or whoever you want to target that message, the first thing you have to do is really research on that person, And that's how I do. I think that's how I think I was successful enough to get some of my artists even back in the days to actually get interest from the radio station. Because I don't submit to the radio station because you just have to submit. I have to know the DJs there. Because if I can strike like this, okay, si DJ, si Francis Brew is ganito, si ganito. So if I know now Francis Brew listens to this and this one guy, I'm not gonna send him some stuff that he might not probably be into, right? So you gotta research the people you wanna send it to. You know, for me, one, hindi na sayang yung oras mo to actually just randomly you get declined. And the best person talaga in the business is to send it to A&Rs. You know, like A&R sa mga...
Okay,
ang
wait.
Nga ngayon kasi may bumalik.
We know what A&Rs are, but for the people who are trying to make it, what is an A&R and where will they find them?
Oh, so every label, well, bumalik na kasi ang A&R. Dati kasi nawala sila kasi, you know, I don't know really what the story there is, but the A&R is the meaning of A&R is artist and repertoire, right? So what he stands for and what he does is he basically creates that. He organizes, for me, he organizes the artist's vision. That's what A&R is. Or my description of an A&R is we're basically music stylists, you know. So parang what we do is we make, like, you know how a stylist of a fashion, you know, ganun si A&R din sa tingin ko. We're not a producer, but we know how to talk to producers. We're not an artist, but we know how to talk to an artist. You know, we're not an engineer, but we know how to talk to an engineer. That's how I see a successful A&R.
Basically,
or an
the
A&R.
connection of the artist to the label and all the other parts of the business.
The business. Yeah. So most labels now have A&R. Meron yan lahat ng mga labels meron. So that's the first thing you should get to know.
Who are the main labels right now?
It's
the active ones.
It's always been, the major labels have always been Sony Music, globally, Sony.
Let's make it sa ano na lang, sa Pilipinas na lang, sa general sa Pilipinas muna.
Okay. So sa Philippines, you have Viva, Star, Universal. I think yan lang yata. And then of course Warner, Sony, and MCA na. So there's at least 6 that you can actually send those ano. And I really suggest that you do not send any more, like before kasi there used to be a show, diba, in the Raw, like that. And I think they put it back now. But I think it's not a good idea anymore to send demos now, you know. If you were gonna send something, it has to be close to the real thing, you know. Kasi there's no reason na kasi now that your recording is gonna sound crap because of the technology, you know. So the mere fact na magsisend ka ng demo, ibig sabihin nasa amateur level ka pa talaga, you know. Kasi hindi mo alam na ang dami mong competition na hindi ganun na ano. So I guess that's the hard part of the business, is that you have to hear it from me if I say na amateur ka pa talaga if demo ibibigay mo, you know. But if you wanna be real, if you wanna, why would you even send it to a label? You want to make it you want to be in it as a career. So if you want it to be a career, then be serious about your music and really, really try to be serious and make a song that is easy na to consume, you know. And yeah, you can probably, may mga instances naman na nakakarinig ako ng demo and probably, sige, magkakaroon ka ng luck and someone actually finds a vision on that demo. But most of the time, it's always best kasi to, especially, I mean, because there's just too many things happening now, you don't want to waste anyone's time. So just like give them, it's like TikTok, for example. I just started to understand that whole thing. Dati kasi hindi ko maintindihan yung TikTok. Sabi ko, ano ba naman to? Bakit? But I've come to realize ang TikTok, the way to look at it is it's an elevator pitch. Okay? So imagine how many seconds you need to make a certain video of how many seconds to get someone to notice it. Right? So So most of the time, sabihin, sayaw, sayaw, sayaw. It's not. TikTok is not like that anymore. It's the content that can capture you and make you interested in that content, whether it be, just a verbal thing to do, an action to do, but it's like an elevator pitch. So that's also how it is in the industry. You cannot waste everyone's time because everyone's short attention na kasi lahat eh. So you gotta make sure when you present something, it's already consumable.
Lex, do you as an A&R, do you prefer audio or video?
Audio pa rin. Audio
okay.
pa rin. Kasi, yeah.
On that note, thank you so much for spending your time and giving us your insight on the music business and for continuing.
Sorry like.
No, this is perfect. Ang dami namin napulot.
No, kasi like I was always watching you guys, like your podcast. I always watch it and parang I feel I'm serious na sinabi ko, parang like I wanted to talk about mga hindi serious stuff ko, but talaga I guess it's just because of ganyan lang talaga kasi talaga ako eh. Like I guess I get to that zone, But yeah, I also have a thing that I do. I love comic books, so my fun side naman ako.
Where can we find your podcast? Where can people find your podcast?
It's on Spotify. It's all on the streaming. It's called Behind This Beat. And I'm actually going to revive the Homegrown Hustle podcast soon. It's a podcast that is more dedicated on the music business. So it's like really like to talk to people in the industry practitioners so that we can, I guess, develop more in a sense of because there's no parang, of course you have the schools there, Benilde and the Mints, but it's different na kasi pag industry practice na eh, so I wanted to get that angle from different people in the industry and see what they think, Saya din pa.
Maybe we can have you on as a guest, tapos iba naman yung topic na pag-usapan natin, diba, sa susunod. Ano rin?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Sige, okay yun. Yeah. But thanks again, guys. I mean, it was an honor to be here because I always just watch you guys, and I never imagined one day I'd be actually a guest because I was always like, okay, like I always watch the podcast, diba? Nag-send pa nga ako sa iyo eh dahil sa UK drill yung mention mo sa kay Ray na Yan si Ray, kasama ko yun sa Warner.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice week.
It's an honor to talk to you again, sir, na mas matagalan. I've been a fan since dati pa.
Ay, salamat, Daren. That's that's really kind of you to say that. Yeah, keep in touch, guys. Thank you for the time, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Be safe pala there, kasi like I know it's really sobrang But one day, pagpunta niyo Cebu, mag-beach tayo.
Let's do this live. Okay, thank you so much. Ingat.
Okay, goodbye, guys.